No. 3, 2, 1.
Welcome everybody to Wrestling to the Max episode 210 part 1, and we are excited because we got lots of cool stuff to talk about tonight. We are going to get into some big topics. A Hall of Famer passed away. We're going to get into his life and what he meant to wrestling. Plus we're going to jump into some other big topics, like we're going to talk about NXT superstars that are now main roster guys and gals and how they've affected the business. That's right. How are they affecting WWE right now? What have they done successfully? Has there been any failures? We're going to get into all that in a special topic tonight. Plus, we're going to get into Ryback. That's right. He's got his own podcast now. You're going to want to hear about this. Plus, some other cool stuff when it comes to the world of wrestling. You don't want to miss anything. And, of course, Ring of Honor. That's right. We're going to talk some Ring of Honor. They had a new episode Monday night, so we're going to jump into that. So we've got cool stuff to talk about. I'm so getting ready to get into this whole thing. But before we do, just want to let everybody know, before we get into everything we've got, we talked about Triple Mania on Thursday's episode. Of course, you know, you've heard us kind of talk about Triple Mania and there are predictions and all that great stuff. Now, we have not actually all got a chance to check out the show. I know it happened this weekend, but we just have not got around to it. Lots of stuff going on behind the scenes with this show, so trust me, we're going to try to get a chance to watch it. So Thursday night live on Spreaker.com. We will try to jump into that. Of course, that'll be available for you guys on Friday for the download. So be waiting for that. We'll let you know if we do get a chance to watch it. But besides that, just to let everybody know, of course, I'm your host, Gary Vaughn. Of course, I'm not doing this alone. I'm also with Mr. Paul Leeser.
Heyo.
And Mr. Sean Garmer.
What is up, folks?
So, we've got some big stuff to talk about tonight, and I got to start this thing off by talking about our intro here. Of course, everybody got a chance to hear and relive Kevin Owens winning the Universal title. This was an exciting moment if you're a Kevin Owens fan. Of course, you know, this isn't the first time you've ever seen this guy have a title, and especially you've seen him being a big champion. Of course, with the NXT Championship, he kind of headlined the show for a little bit. Of course, you know, this is kind of seems like a theme, guys. We've seen plenty of other NXT stars do some big things on, of course, now that there's a brand split, Monday Night Raw and SmackDown Live. We've seen Finn Balor. He was the first Universal Champion. Of course, that was a sad situation because, you know, he got injured right after he won the belt. But we've also seen some other great people come out of NXT. We've seen Charlotte. She's, of course, the women's champion, now twice women's champion. We've also got a chance to see some other great talent when it comes to NXT do some great things. So let's talk about this. I mean, Kevin Owens now holding this Universal title shows that really WWE is looking to those new young stars to do some big things and to kind of take control. That's cool. You know, we haven't always seen that. Paul, what do you think about this and this trend with these former NXT talents?
This is sort of a time period that, I always enjoy these time periods where there's a shift going on between the old guard and the new upcoming guard, right? And, you know, we've seen this a couple of times in the past, right? At least in our lifetimes from, at least when I started watching wrestling, WWF at the time was in that flux with the new generation of Hogan moving on to WCW and shortly followed by a lot of other bigger names. So they had to start relying on Bret Hart's and Shawn Michaels and a lot of these other guys, Razor Ramon, Diesel, the list goes on. And up until the Attitude Era where you have those guys finally take hold, plus Stone Cold Steve Austin, plus The Rock, plus all these other names that they made because they lost all the big name talents from the 80s that they created. You're kind of seeing that here now. They're, you know, Cena's moving on, Orton's getting older, Brock Lesnar's part-time. A lot of the older guys that have either been too hurt or left on bad terms with the WWE have moved on to something else. And now you have this new crop of NXT stars coming up and guys who they really want to focus on, guys who they think can carry the business for them right away. And I think that speaks to just how successful the NXT formula has been for them. It's given them a way to capitalize on the independent wrestling boom that has happened in the last I don't know, 4 or 5 years, and it's given them a chance to really create a place where these guys can show that they can carry a now traveling brand to heights that maybe weren't possible when you had an OVW or a Memphis Wrestling or whatever other development they had in the past, Deep South Wrestling. So you have a lot of these opportunities for these guys now, and this is really exciting. Kevin Owens is a great talent, somebody who's worked very hard for this. Finn Balor, a lot of guys, that are getting these opportunities, and girls, they've worked very hard for this opportunity to be able to put a company on their shoulders, show what they can do on the big stage, and make not only themselves but the company a lot of money.
Yeah, you're exactly right. And, Sean, I mean, there have been plenty of successes here, and we're seeing even more talent kind of start to rise to the occasion. But, I mean, what do you think about this?
I mean, we've talked about it many times about how this whole shift with, it seems like that, we've seen it started with NXT of, okay, let's bring in some indie talent. Well, the indie talent starts really taking off and becoming big things for NXT. So it becomes this cultural change in NXT where, okay, we're going to just bring in more indie talent to replace that indie talent. And then, okay, well, some of that indie talent starts going to Raw and SmackDown. Well, guess what happens? They start shining through. They start becoming big names, big stars, or at least getting pushed, which is what you want. Seth Rollins, first ever NXT champion, he becomes a champion. Now all of the Shield guys have become champions. Roman had a cup of coffee in NXT, but he's a WWE product, but almost everybody else, except for some of the, women that have come through, and maybe some of them are factors from the indies, and some of them are not. It's just really been like a Kevin Owens, a Bray, even if you include NXT products unnecessarily, and it's outside. I mean, like Bray he's been a big deal. He's still used a lot. Maybe he's not been, I think, what everybody wants him to be, but there's still time for him to be there. Mentioned the Shield guys already. You've got some of the, you got Gallows Anderson, you got AJ, you got, and then even Finn, who's injured now, and then you got the guys that are down there in NXT that when they're going to come out, like a Nakamura, he's going to hit it out of the park when he shows up. So it's really is amazing this shift and how they have fluctuated to, okay, maybe we can use guys and we can bring them in with their names they had before, and they can be something in our company. We don't have to make them from the ground up. We don't have to restart them. We don't have to change what they are. They come in as the guy that people know, and they're going to appreciate them. And there's still people, say like a Neville, a Sami Zayn, and a few others that have the potential to get to those higher levels that they haven't been able to capitalize on quite yet, too.
Yeah, talking about that, and that's a good point. The potential stars like, you mentioned Neville and, of course, Sami Zayn, but we also have people like Bayley, who just joined the roster. You even have Dana Brooke, who's not looking good right now, but you never know. Down the line, there's always that chance that she could be a bigger star. Maybe she picks up some more momentum and actually does some things that are special. We've got, of course, Jordan and Gable, American Alpha, who seem to be shining over on SmackDown Live and eventually destined to be, tag title holders. So there's some big names coming out of NXT that are making their way through both these rosters, and I'm looking forward to seeing who comes out of this. But I mean, thinking about that, Paul, give me, if you want to use two or however you want to use, give me some a name or two that you really feel like has a big potential, and who we're going to see reach levels like we've seen Finn Balor, Seth Rollins, and people like that reach.
Who's currently in NXT?
Yeah, currently on the roster. I'm talking about the newer stars. The stars haven't actually done anything yet.
Okay.
Like Jordan Gable. That would be one for me. I don't know.
I think you have a guy, Sami Zayn, obviously, sort of somebody who they floundered on here and there. They seem to have a direction for him and then quickly drop it, and then have a direction for him and quickly drop it. I think Neville's experienced some success, but obviously maybe not to the level we all expected. And then, I don't think Neville was ever expected to be a main event tier talent, but he certainly has the capability, I think, just simply from how inspiring his performances are.
Well, saying that, I mean, you make some good points there, Sean. Apollo Crews is another guy we haven't even mentioned yet, who got pushed to the main roster quicker than I thought they were going to do. Do you think that this guy eventually will reach that level, or do you think maybe his ceiling isn't that high?
I don't know. Apollo's a weird thing because they're really going to have to decide that this isn't working and we need to do something. We need to turn him, let him talk more, have him show some kind of personality because, again, it's sort of like Cesaro, where Cesaro had to go through this time where he had to get it and understand what they're looking for and kind of channel himself and understand what he is and who he is and get this chip on his shoulder that he has now of, okay, I want to prove that I can do these things. You say I can't do this, well, I'm going to come out here and tell you and show you I can. And Apollo hasn't gone through that yet. He's still he's happy being and smiling Apollo. And until either the company decides, okay, look, this isn't working, we need to do something with you, or he decides, look, this is not working for me, I'm not getting anywhere, I need to do something about it, you're gonna see him just be there where he is right now, where he's not doing a whole lot. But I think definitely with the talent he has, he can be something for the company. Just somebody's got to figure out that this is not working right now.
Yeah, and a guy that's kind of the complete opposite of that, to me, is Baron Corbin. A guy that they see something in that they think that they can do a lot with, but, he can't do everything Apollo Crews does, but he seems motivated, and he does seem like he's a guy that is ready to do something, and he wants to, but, is his ability there? Is he going to be able to get over to the extent that he needs to do? I don't know. It's a good question. But, I mean, saying all this, I mean, we've got so many stars. I mean, we've mentioned so many of them. Sasha Banks is one we haven't even talked about. There are so many of these former NXT stars on these rosters now. It's almost easy to forget that they were.
You could almost make the case that it's almost half of the roster. It's NXT people at this point. Like, look at that main event. I mean, it's all NXT or almost NXT that was fighting for that Universal title on Raw. I mean, go down the list of what you saw on that Monday or what you see normally on a Tuesday and count with your hand how many of those are NXT people. Or in the case of, a couple like AJ and Gallows Anderson just from the outside straight in there. I mean, it's amazing how much of that talent is not just somebody that's been a WWE guy their entire life.
Yeah, you're totally right on that. And, as time goes on, that ratio is going to definitely rise because, we're just seeing more and more great talent come out of NXT. So saying that, I'm going to kind of go back to, Paul was going to answer this question. I want both of you guys to answer this question. When it comes to the current NXT roster and some of the guys you see, who do you think is going to come out of this and really make a difference on this main roster? Who the next big thing is? I know we mentioned Nakamura. You can use Nakamura. Is there anybody else out there that's maybe not so obvious to people, though?
I mean, right now, I think NXT sort of hinges on Nakamura's rise to success because that's what they're trying to sell you on right now. When you look maybe further down the roster, certainly somebody who they haven't played up as a big deal, but, obviously Austin Aries has the potential to carry a company. We've seen him carry TNA. We've seen him work other promotions where he's become the world champion. I certainly think he still has that capability in him to maybe one day be WWE World Heavyweight or Universal Champion.
I think Bobby Roode is one who certainly has that potential to be a big player if he gets to be on the main roster. Obviously, his age is going to come into play for Vince or whoever, but you really can't say anything when you've got AJ and some other guys that are sort of around that age there on the main roster doing some big things right now. And so he's one for me. I think obviously, Paul brought up the Nakamura is that big one that hinges on everything. Sort of, if he makes it, then you could see a flood of different kind of guys coming. If Nakamura makes it, you're talking about opening the gates because that's a star that WWE has really never had. Having a huge Asian star and one that is truly, truly Asian and made his name over there in Japan first and then came here and then became, a big name as well. And I think that's sort of why, people complaining about, oh, we haven't really seen the full Nakamura. I think Nakamura's being smart. I think Nakamura's like understanding, hey, this is not where I want to be at the end of the day. I want to be in the big place with the bright lights, and I'm saving myself because I don't want to get hurt during my 3-year run here, and I want to be on the main roster and do some big things there. So, the reason why we might be getting half-speed Nakamura is partially because of that, because he sees people getting hurt, and he doesn't want to spend 6 months out and only been in NXT, But, I mean, he is a champion there. Samoa Joe, I think, could be huge if they put him on that main roster. I mean, you talk about a guy that oozes, I am a badass, there's nothing you're going to do to, beat me. If they let him be Samoa Joe on the roster, just there's so much potential for him to get people behind him. And, big match with Brock, obviously, that everybody's going to want to see. But just beyond that, all the talent he can work with is, I don't see how he could fail unless Vince just says, oh, I don't like this or I don't like that. If they let him be Samoa Joe, he's going to be a big deal.
Yeah, and following into Samoa Joe, but really, honestly, Nakamura, Asuka is another one. Now, of course, it's a little early, but down the line, I mean, that's another name that hitting the main roster is going to be a huge deal, especially if Nakamura goes first and is successful and gets the crowd behind him. That is another one that's going to be giant for the main roster. So there's some great names coming out of NXT still. I mean, we've already mentioned several that are already on the rosters, but, these names we've just talked about are big. The Revival's another one I think could really, really help these big, tag team divisions, whether it be on Raw or SmackDown Live. So, well, we kind of got into it, and you kind of talked about a little bit of NXT.
Hold on. Before we, because they announced, they officially announced Cedric Alexander, Gargano, and Ciampa as the next Cruiserweight guys for Raw. Is there any of the Cruiserweight guys that you think could have a potential to really be something outside of just the Cruiserweight division, just be big players for Raw?
I think what they're looking for out of the Cruiserweight division is something that they can put on any show, fill time with a great match, and sort of let that be it. Because judging by their past runs with Cruiserweight champions and divisions and whatever else, there's never been a huge focus on storytelling. And obviously that's something you really need to do if you want to move these guys up, but that's never seemed to be their MO. They've always wanted the Cruiserweights have a spot, they put on the good match, we go on from there, right? But when you look at something that they've already been building across the CWC and NXT with Gargano and Ciampa, you have a storyline already ready-made to come up to the main roster that you can focus on, like you have with the Kevin Owens, Sami Zayn situation, and you can immediately put that division on the map and have somebody be a breakout star for the division and possibly move up, and that somebody ultimately is probably going to be Johnny Gargano because, the babyface in the light of Ciampa's evil turn on him where he just decides to brutalize him should be a big deal, and hopefully they treat it like a big deal. But with the Cruiserweights, it's really hard to tell because we don't know what kind of spot they're going to give them. We don't know how much build they're going to give these guys to tell stories and build characters and really feel like they have a chance to move up to the heavyweight division and feel like they can hang.
Yeah, you're right. And, another name I'd like to mention is Brian Kendrick. I mean, he's a guy that they've kind of had not as big of a storyline as Gargano and Ciampa, but, his theme right now is he's finding ways to win. And whether it be underhanded or whether it just be by, luck, he's finding ways to be successful. And, even if he doesn't win this whole CWC tournament, I think at the end of the day, he's a guy that people will be targeting, and that's a good thing, and it's a reason for people to get behind the Cruiserweight Classic to, if nothing else, have a guy that they all want to see lose. So that's really cool, and that's exciting. And there's several of these young guys coming out that I want to see do something on this Monday Night Raw, and of course everything what they're doing with the Cruiserweights. So I get excited about it because it is something different. It is a chance for us to not have just a boring match we've seen 100 times. Now we finally get a chance to see a little bit of variety with these cruiserweights coming in.
I think we should look at Johnny Gargano, obviously, because he's somebody that's proven that he's got everything, as Paul has stated before. If they take him out of the cruiserweights eventually, he's somebody that can work with anybody there. Not that any of the other cruiserweights can, but I think he's somebody you could take out of there and you could make him into some big baby face, and he'll work great as far being a guy that you can build in that mid card just fine. And also Grand Metalik. They've since Mysterio's been gone, they've been trying to find that Mexican star. And I think he can be that Mexican star if they really get behind him and, sell them ass and do it, and they accentuate what makes him great, which is the wrestling. And yeah, again, he's going to have the problem with the language or whatever, but perhaps he picks it up better than what Andrade Cien Almas is going through right now. And you never know. I just think that the thing with taking the mask away from Almas is that mask is what gave him the personality, what gave him the that thing that connected you to him. So if you have it with Metalik, perhaps people will get drawn in, and it's not going to be like a Sin Cara situation. You really do feel for him and not just feel like, oh, he's just nobody.
Yeah, exactly. I totally agree. And there's so many great names that are a part of this, and I just get excited about it. I really, really do. So we could go on and gush about these different guys, and we'll have to see. I mean, I'm really looking forward to it. I think a lot of other people are excited about the possibility of having some excellent matches on Raw. But, guys, we think we kind of talked about some NXT talent and, of course, what we got coming with the Cruiserweight Classic guys. But, I think it's time for us to jump into some more topics, like some big quick hits. That's right. We've got quite a few of them. So we are going to jump into that. And don't forget, we're also talking Ring of Honor. Don't want to miss that as well. So we'll be right back, though, with quick hits, guys. All right. I always start these things off with the saddest news, just so we can get it out of the way, honestly. So let's go ahead and do it. Mr. Fuji has passed away. This is a bummer. He was definitely a great manager, a Hall of Famer of the WWE, and just a great guy overall. He even did some acting. This guy was a special guy, and a lot of people have some fond memories of him. So, saying all that, our condolences, of course, to his family. But, Paul, I mean, what do you remember most about Mr. Fuji?
5-year-old me would recognize him as Yokozuna's manager for a very long time. Older me would recognize a very great tag team wrestler who was supremely over back in the 60s and 70s and into a bit of the 80s. As one of the guys to sort of bring the evil foreigner gimmick to the forefront, along with the Iron Sheik and all that stuff. So this is kind of it's a big blow for me. I love Mr. Fuji. I always thought he added a lot to people he was with, not only in his management of like Demolition, Yokozuna, of course, and more teams than I can probably remember, or wrestlers that I can remember. But such a great act that added so much to packages, or just a great tag team wrestler, and somebody that's going to be dearly missed.
Yeah, I mean, I only really remember him as the manager, so I'll just be honest there. Right, with Paul, the Yokozuna manager with the big title change and everything, and then of course Hogan beating him and the salt in the eyes and all that stuff. I mean, but going back and having been able to sort of watch some of the things that he's done, Paul sort of said everything with his wrestling career, but I mean, he was a great talent. He gets highlighted a lot as a manager, and a lot of people sometimes, when you talk about great managers, they don't always mention him, but he should be mentioned as one of the great managers ever. He had quite a few stable of guys that, Demolition, of course, being probably one of his, if not the biggest, some of the biggest that he's had. Then, of course, he had to go on and do the Orient Express and getting to manage Owen when he was tag champions with Yokozuna, too. So, I mean, it sucks. I mean, 2016 has been terrible for wrestling deaths, honestly.
Yeah, it sure has. And, this is a big bummer because, once again, this guy was very classy. He was a guy that entertained us all. Just going back and from what I remember of him, I mean, I always just loved him because of the fact that he made you laugh. Even, when he's doing some dastardly things and, doing things that, make the bad guy win, you still, kind of get a kick out of his, antics and, of course, some of the promos and things like that. So, it's definitely a big loss to the world of wrestling. His Hall of Fame speech, they kind of briefly highlighted on Monday Night Raw during their video package, that whole vignette. And it was just something special, and he was something special. So, once again, it's definitely a sad loss, but our condolences go out to his family, and he'll never be forgotten for sure. I know that for a fact. Let's jump into some other news that happened this week, and let's start with one with a big guy involved. That's right, we're going to talk about Ryback, and he actually has his own podcast out now called Conversations with the Big Guy. I like that. I like that title. I like the fact that this guy is actually going to come out and basically speak his mind, and that's exactly what he did on his podcast. And this is something that's kind of controversial because we saw the way he left WWE, some of the comments he made as he left out the door, and the way he handled everything. And there were some things that he said that we did not agree with on this podcast. Maybe we kind of thought, he was being a little silly on. But Paul, I mean, he on this, podcast he actually had a few things that you may kind of agree with. What did you think about this?
There's some stuff that he talks about on here that I'm kind of hesitant to believe. Chiefly they said he was going to squash AJ at WrestleMania, and I don't know if I quite believe that. But certainly talking about how he was booked poorly, that's very true. I think anybody could see that because he was somebody who they seemed to have great faith in 1 minute and then went the other way and fell victim. Him and a lot of other guys, including CM Punk, fell victim to The Rock having to be WWE champion so we could have twice in a lifetime. But, I mean, here's a guy who really honestly should have had a run with the WWE Championship. They built him up that way going into that Hell in a Cell match with Punk. He should have won. And he didn't. And it's hard to blame him whenever he starts talking about how they lied to him, which maybe I don't know how much I believe of that, but it certainly fits with some things that we hear about them being wishy-washy from show to show, even as far as booking goes for the WWE. So, I don't blame him as far as a creative direction. Monetarily wise, it seems kind of, $1.5 million for 3 years is a lot. And, man, obviously if he's happy, that's really what matters. money and all that will come so long as you're doing something that you enjoy. So I hope indie wrestling works out for him. But, sort of, I believe a lot of this. I don't know to the extent, maybe, but a lot of this feels very true.
Yeah, I mean, that's sort of the only thing for me was the AJ deal. But, of course, also, as Cohiel pointed out in the Facebook group when we had this discussion about it, was that sometimes, Vince or whoever will say things so that you'll sign.
Yeah.
And then they go and change it once you've put your name there because they already got you. So, they can promise you this and then they can decide later that no, that's not happening. But, I mean, leaving that kind of money on the table that's a huge thing. I mean, that says a lot about the guy as far as he really wanted to make sure that he could have control over himself at his age and say, okay, I want to do more than just wrestling. I want to be able to entertain people by doing other things. And, it's cool that he started this podcast and he does it with Pat Buck, and you can definitely hear that, he doesn't have problems. He's grateful for WWE for everything that he got to do and everything. But when he, the thing he says about he couldn't sell his merch because WWE told him that his merch had been on a ship, and it's on a ship for 3 years. How the hell does that happen? And then all of a sudden, when he's not in WWE, he can set up his merch in 2 weeks. That tells you something, right there. WWE has the power to make you, and they have the power to sabotage you if they want. And perhaps there's things going on where maybe he felt that he should be bigger than he was, and WWE felt that he shouldn't. So it sucks for him because certainly he was misused, and hopefully at some point he'll get to go to a more regular show, not just doing indies, and we'll get to see him a lot more. But supposedly he's asking for $5,000 for indie appearance. So
yeah, and he will probably get it from some places, and as that goes, the further away from being a part of WWE you are, that number usually goes down unless you make yourself a big name on the indie circuit. So let's hope that he has that opportunity and does that, keeps that price range and makes a big splash. I think he can, and I think he's a guy that will probably sign with a bigger company down the line. But this cool podcast is because we got more insight on what he's saying, kind of what he feels. Even if we don't believe everything, it's kind of interesting and neat that we get to hear from him and not other people and other sources and not other ways. So I think this is it's something definitely worth listening to if you have not ever heard it. I would definitely go check it out. Let's talk about something else that's kind of controversial. Bo Dallas recently got booted off a plane. That's right. Actually, in Dallas, Texas. He got booted out at DFW Airport, I believe. He actually, was intoxicated. That was the biggest reason for his being, asked to leave and escorted off a plane. It really just revolves around they had a 5-hour delay. Him and several of the other superstars. We know the Usos, of course. Charlotte was another person named in this that kind of got delayed for 5 hours, and so they hit up a restaurant at the airport and had a few drinks. And the next thing you know, Bo Dallas is singing Lion King, and the next thing you know, he's getting booted off a plane. In fact, he even does a few things like telling the pilot to F off as he got escorted off. And we also know that he called Seth Rollins a dick. So I don't know where that came from, but that's what the word is out there. So what do you guys think about this? I mean, Bo Dallas doesn't seem to be making himself a popular person right now, and not only that, we heard that he probably was not around for those live events this week. What do you think, Sean?
Yeah, I mean, not the first time he's been in trouble with alcohol before. Probably won't be the last, but we're starting to develop a pattern, and that's not good.
I mean, it has been 4 years in between offenses, so that's good at least. But it's always sad to hear something about this, and just getting the DUI, getting the public intoxication, not good for a corporate company that wants nothing to do with stuff like that. So I fear for Bo Dallas right now.
Yeah, I feel bad for him too, and it doesn't help, calling somebody out that's one of your, actually someone that works with you, one of your coworkers, and especially someone with a name like Seth Rollins. So we'll see how that happens, when he gets in the locker room and see how everything works out. I feel bad for the guy, but you can't make those kind of decisions when you are in the limelight, when people are going to pay more attention to you when you're out in public. So saying all that, let's talk about someone else that's been kind of in the limelight when it comes to WWE. That is Bill Goldberg. Of course, he's one of the big part of the WWE 2K17 game. Of course, he's a big feature on there. Of course, at SummerSlam, we, had his appearances, signing autographs, things like that. And that wasn't a part of SummerSlam itself, but was around. And so the rumors have been floating around of maybe a return for Bill Goldberg. Well, apparently the wheels are in motion for him to possibly make a return. That is very interesting. He's been noted as saying that, he can't dwell on the past and his relationship with Vince McMahon or the company. He's got to move forward and, deal with him now and not depend on what happened back then. Saying that, Sean, do you see anything coming out of this?
Are we talking about
the Bill Goldberg?
The Goldberg? Jeez. I want him to come back. I wanted him to have that time for his kid and everything, and I just hope that it seems like his head's on straight this time. That he's not holding stuff from 2004, and neither is the company, and they're willing to work with each other. I'm hoping neither one's going in expecting something that the other one's not going to give, and then they get into some kind of sour issues with each other again, because then it's almost like a waste.
Yeah, really, I think what this needs to be is Goldberg trying to mend the bridge before he gets too old to do this, and I think that's solely where this is coming from. If he still wants to do it for his kid, great. But I mean, obviously, I don't know if he's ever going to make as much money. He has a lot of deals, obviously. I think he still does this TV show on Speed, and whatever else he's got going on in his life. But there's a big payday involved in this too, so let's not sell that short.
Definitely, and I of course, was a big, huge Bill Goldberg fan, and it'll be fun to see him. Don't get me wrong, and I think that he could offer something, but at the end of the day, how much can he offer, and what's his motivation? What's he going to put into it? That's what concerns me. I hope if he does sign a contract for whatever short term it is, he puts the effort into it and makes it special for those guys like me who were fans and who appreciated what he did. So. Talking about something exciting and another return, the Headbangers are going to do a one-off, possibly on SmackDown Live. This is kind of interesting because we haven't seen these guys in quite a while, especially on WWE TV, Paul.
I'm not expecting a lot of fan roaring whenever these guys come back. But the Headbangers were a really fun act, and one that I enjoyed back in my youth, so I'm looking forward to seeing these guys again.
Yeah, I mean, this is cool. It's been a long time since they've been on, and going to be kind of interested to see them.
Me too. It's going to just be a go, kind of like a time machine back to the old days and see these guys. It's going to be kind of funny. So saying that, let's talk about something else that's really kind of fun and interesting, and it's something I think a lot of people are going to be excited about. Adam Cole is going to be defending his Ring of Honor World Heavyweight Championship against Will Ospreay. That's right. It's going to happen at New Japan's Destruction. Wow, that's going to be cool. I cannot wait to see this. So, I mean, is this something that you think is going to be really special?
Yeah, I mean, this should be a great match. It's a big money match that I'm surprised that Ring of Honor didn't save for their tour of England. I mean, this should still be really cool, though.
Perhaps, New Japan kind of just wanted to do this match. This is awesome, obviously. Getting to see this and getting to see it so quick after Adam Cole won the title, too. So, not gonna complain about this at all. This is an awesome thing to add to a Destruction show.
Well, talking about things to complain about, Sean, Ring of Honor maybe introducing some titles that maybe people may complain about, or something they may be excited about this coming Tuesday. How do you land? What do you think those titles are going to be?
What Paul was talking about before we started the show seems like Women of Honor makes sense. If they're adding more than one, then that becomes, what are they doing?
Kevin Kelly does say championships in the Ring of Honor update that this was announced in. According to PW Insider, they're saying it's not a Women of Honor championship. I think that the obvious one is a Women of Honor championship. They've put a lot of steam behind making this division matter. They gave it its own show back in last month. You can buy off their website for $10 on demand. And it's a really good show. I'd highly recommend it. I don't know what else they could do though if they're doing more than just a Women of Honor championship. But it'd be interesting to see. I mean, there are definitely ideas out there. Like, for example, Progress is in the process of crowning an Atlas championship, which is a specifically heavyweight gear championship towards guys over a certain weight limit, which is kind of cool. So.
I'm trying to rack my brain. That would be the only thing that makes sense. Like, you either have you already have a TV title, so it's like, it's got to be some kind of a 6-man or some other kind of lower rung title, whatever. Especially if you're not giving the women at least one. So that's weird.
Yeah, very weird. I don't know. I mean, I'm really curious. I really, really am, and I think the Women of Honor title that Paul mentioned, it's going to be something that would be really cool to see. But, it just really depends on what their mindset is. I don't know. I don't know at all. But, let's talk about something else that, we don't know is going to happen. And this is something that, if it does, I will be completely shocked. But what I'm talking about here is Dixie Carter may be on her way out of TNA Wrestling. That's right. I mean, I can't believe I just said those words all in one sentence, because we've seen Dixie hold on with dear life with Impact Wrestling. And this has been her baby for so long. I mean, even her parents have put money into this thing. It's been a family business for quite a while now. And with her not being a part of it, that leaves Billy Corgan and, of course, the investors as the people in charge of this thing. Now, this is not fact. This is not something we know is going to happen. This is just speculation that there could be some signs that Dixie Carter is on her way out. Like, she didn't show up at the recent live events that they had. That says a lot right there, just because, once again, she's been handcuffed to this organization for so long now. What do you think, Paul? What do we really believe is going on here?
She might be on the way out of Power. I don't think she's going to be out of TNA. She's ingratiated herself into that promotion very deeply, and basically what it boils down to is, I think, who's pulling the trigger on stuff that goes live on television, how talents work, how all this other stuff is, which I think is something that Billy Corgan is fully in charge of. Ownership stakes are different. Billy Corgan does have one of those. Dixie, I think, still has the majority. And whether that's being worked out right now or not about how that's moving around, who knows? But certainly, her being out of the picture as far as a creative position goes is probably best for TNA.
Yeah, I mean, she obviously knows business, so her being around to make some of the like TV deals or whatever, I don't think is a bad thing. Her moving herself out of the day-to-day wrestling stuff is a great thing because that's always been the issue with TNA is she doesn't know what she's doing in that realm. But I don't know as far as how much Billy Corgan is involved with all this, but I think it's such a weird time for TNA that you could really be talking about Dixie Carter being gone.
Yeah, it is, and like I said, I never thought we would even be saying anything like that, and I wouldn't be surprised if it did happen. But I kind of want Dixie Carter to have a win somewhere down the line. Now, that win's not going to be, hey, they just beat WB in ratings. I don't really see that right now happening. Maybe down the line, maybe if something super cool happens with them, that could be the case. But what I mean by win is them getting a profit, them getting lots of reactions, people caring about them. And so I really hope that Dixie Carter can be a part of that. Now, at the level that she is now, I'm okay with her not being a part of it. I think even if she's behind the scenes and doing strictly contracts, working on other things, and leaving all the day to day and all the other stuff when it comes to creative to other people, I'm completely cool with that. I just want to see her get a win out of this. It's no secret. I'm a Dallas Cowboys fan, and I am still a supporter of Tony Romo. Guy's glass now gets injured when he sneezes. I would love to see the guy get a Super Bowl. I don't care if he's third string quarterback. Kind of the same way I feel with Dixie Carter. I don't care if she's sitting in an office somewhere and never steps foot at a live event ever again. I would love to see her get a win. I've felt for her for a long time. So. But we'll see. Once again, this is all speculation. We don't know. We have no idea what's going to happen with this, and we'll let you know once we know and more information. So. All right, guys. Well, that is quick hits for us. Of course, we'll have more big news for you guys when we do our part 2 episode. But now we are going to go and talk some Ring of Honor. I can't wait to do this. We will be right back with that next, guys.
All right. So Ring of Honor wastes no time. They jump straight into the action with the big grudge match. Shane Taylor and Keith Lee taking on War Machine. I really enjoyed this match a whole bunch. All these guys are hard hitters, and they show that off big. Lots of big double team maneuvers. Keith Lee is a freak of nature. He's so big, and he moves with such effortless grace on some of these big flippy moves that he gets to do. And Shane Taylor and Keith Lee, they pull out the surprise win. They get a suplex powerbomb combination on Hansen and pin him 1-2-3.
This is really cool. Like Paul just said, he said it perfectly because this is one of those matches you're just like, wow, I didn't expect to enjoy this that much as I did. And these guys being so athletic, it just really kind of boggles your mind. It's because of their size, and I thought this was really cool. I really loved the way that they opened the show with this, and that surprise victory. It needs to be done. I love that. I expected War Machine to take care of business. I really didn't think anything was going to happen but that. And when this victory happened, I thought, man, that is so good for Ring of Honor, or at least from my standpoint.
Yeah, there's a theme of building up new talent on this particular episode, and I think Shane Taylor and Keith Lee are a step in that right direction. They're a tag team I think ROH can build around. They have that same sort of manner that War Machine does. Big guys who can move, and certainly when you put these guys in the ring together, especially with how much Keith Lee and Ray Rowe have worked together, not only in the indie scene in general, but specifically here in Dallas. It's really cool to see these guys sort of succeed. Next up, we have the Four Corner Survival match. Cheeseburger takes on Joey Diesel, Daddy Go, Tough Tim Hughes, and David Starr. And if you're noticing the lack of star power and the overmajority of jobbers, essentially, It's because this is an angle. BJ Whitmer comes out for commentary. He's still sporting that new look where he's got the black X on his head, and he's got a bunch of eye black on, and this button-up white T-shirt, and sort of like a cult leader almost look. And he comes out, and as the match progresses, and each of the guys sort of gets their spots here and there, he says, "Well, it's time." And this video plays where you get some of the stuff that we got in the last week Legacy of Hatred thing, and suddenly this guy appears next to him. And it turns out it's Punisher Martinez from the Top Prospect Tournament, who they commentary sort of hypes up as sort of all this hatred has brought forth the physical manifestation of this demon in Punisher Martinez. And he gets to run roughshod over everybody in the ring. What'd you think about this, Gary?
I love Punisher Martinez. I mean, not that he's the best ever, but I just love the gimmick. I love what he can do. And when I saw this as a surprise, I was thrilled. I thought it was something that needed to be, special if they were going to do something like this, and they did it. To me, they kind of hit it out of the park with this one because, I do have history with knowing this guy, and so it was more exciting for me. But, if you're a casual fan, casual viewer, you got a little bit of what this guy can do, and it was just a fun, even though he cleaned house very easily, it was just fun to see. So I'm honestly more curious now than I was last week with the storyline. Beforehand, I was just kind of like, it wasn't doing a whole lot for me. Now I kind of care more.
Yeah, I still don't know where exactly we're going with this. I do, however, applaud Ring of Honor for bringing in a fresher talent who can get a lot of good rub out of this thing if the storyline continues to do well. Sort of, instead of making it feel like BJ Whitmer and Steve Corino are just sort of battling for the sake of it, now you have some stakes involved as far as future talent for your company. So hats off to Ring of Honor there for sure. Young Bucks get a promo next where they get to hype up the World Tag Team title match that'll be in the main event as they challenge The Addiction. And then we move right along into a six-man tag of the Cabinet, Caprice Coleman, Kenny King, Rhett Titus taking on Dalton Castle and the Boys. And this is really fun. Dalton Castle and the Boys are supremely over here in Philly. The Cabinet are sort of just tolerated, but they get some heat here and there. And despite the best efforts of the Boys and Dalton Castle, they end up falling prey to the Cabinet with this really cool sort of triple team move that they do. Kenny does a superplex on one of the Boys, and then Rhett and Caprice finish him off with a leg drop big splash combo that I certainly believe. So.
Yeah, the Young Bucks always, they're always fun to watch, so don't have to say a lot about that. They did a good job hyping up the tag titles. Then just this match alone, to get into that, I really felt like, we were going to see some good stuff, which we did. But at the end of the day, I just knew the Cabinet was going to be the victors here because, the Boys aren't exactly, top-notch quality talent right now at this moment. They're okay. So at the end of the day, though, at least we got a little bit into this heat, a little bit this feud, and it was something cool. I mean, it was just fun. Nothing over spectacular, but still, it kind of got into that storyline because, of course, we saw the smack talk going on between the Cabinet and Dalton Castle.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I mean, it's pretty much a way to showcase the Cabinet, essentially, is what this was. Mm-hmm. Next segment, Adam Cole gets some promo time where he walks in with the ROH World title and pretty much talks about how it's supposed to be, like, how Death Before Dishonor was supposed to be the biggest night of his career. Now he's a two-time world champion for Ring of Honor, which is he's only the second person to ever do behind Austin Aries. And he sort of talks about how Kyle O'Reilly attacked him at the end of Death Before Dishonor and says, even though his moment in the sun was sort of ruined, he can now easily live up to the promise of making sure Kyle never wins the world title personally because he is the world champion. So, I mean, nothing, earth-shattering, but certainly a right step in the direction for that feud. And then we get the main event World Tag Team title match as the Addiction defend against the Young Bucks. They just got out on commentary. I should mention that Matt Taven was out there for commentary for this episode. And her and Taven sort of play buddy-buddy, so it has me thinking that Veda might be in a spot whenever that new kingdom that Taven keeps waxing on about comes to pass. This is sort of your typical Young Bucks match, though. Lots of spots. Kazarian brings out a ladder. At some point, we get some tables involved and a chair, which has me thinking that this entire World Tag situation is going to end in a ladder war at some point. And we come down to the finish. Kamitachi comes out for the distraction, but the Motor City Machine Guns come out and attack him. And then you have Saban coming to the ring after Kazarian pulls out the aforementioned chair and misses Kazarian with it, ends up hitting Matt Jackson in the face, and Daniel steals the pin to sort of send us home because we don't stick around much for most post-match stuff. But the World Tag Team title situation continues to evolve around these three teams, and that's something.
Yeah, it is, and once again, Adam Cole, baby, he's fun to watch.
Yeah.
That's right. He's a lot of fun to watch, and I love the continuity. Keeping Kyle O'Reilly's name around there. They could have been very easily kind of put aside. His name is there, so that's still an important feud. I like that. And of course, we get to this whole tag title situation, and you figured the Addiction was going to find a way. You just did. And of course, once again, they do. So it was a fun little match. I enjoyed it, but like Paul said, nothing out of the ordinary here. Kind of the same stuff you've seen before, but still very entertaining. And really, honestly, not a bad way to end the show. I'm always entertained by the Addiction because they find every way possible to get a victory. So that was kind of cool to see how they did it this time.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, it's been this sort of their MO, not only at Death Before Dishonor, it's how they retained the titles at Field of Honor, if you haven't read those results yet. And then, they do it again here. So, Great work. And this is a really good episode of ROH TV. I highly recommend it, for sure. It's got a lot of great story build.
You're exactly right, Paul. And he just mentioned a while ago, this is all about young talent. If you want to see some of the young talent coming up in Ring of Honor, this is the episode to watch. You definitely need to go check this out. So, all right. Well, that is Ring of Honor, guys. We, of course, now want to let you guys know we have a big show coming up this next Thursday night live on Spreaker.com. If you want to come check us out, we will be live, and probably late at night, but still, it's live. If you want to come check us out, of course, on Friday morning on the download, you will get episode 210 part 2 of Wrestling to the Max, and we are not only going to be doing a lot of big quick hits, we're also going to be getting into NXT. We'll be talking some TNA Impact Wrestling. We're also going to be probably getting a chance to talk about Triple Mania. Yeah, that's right. We didn't get a chance to talk about it yet, so we'll be talking about it on that show, kind of give you our thoughts and some of the other things that took place on that. And, of course, some other big things in the world of wrestling, so you don't want to miss that show. Plus, don't forget to go check out that Raw review and that SmackDown review we did this week. You don't want to miss either of those. They're going to be a lot of fun and lots of great information coming your way. But also, W2M Network, don't forget about it. If you're not subscribed, go subscribe now. It's how you get all those shows with one easy click. And Sean, anything you want to kind of mention about the W2M Network this week?
We did a late video games to the max, so you can hear us talk about PS4 Slim leak and a few other things that have been going on in gaming. We're going to do the SEC preview here in a little bit for the football to the max. Of course, there's another fantasy football to the max that's out there. Those guys, Randy and Mike, have been great about getting a show out every twice a week, and you should go check it out because we just did our WTM Fantasy League draft, and Randy and Mike are not part of that one, but listening to their tips, and then you go do some of these drafts. We have another WTM Fantasy League that drafts next week. The Football to the Max Fantasy League drafts next week as well. Some drafts that we have, and I know everybody has personal drafts they're doing, I'm sure. Listen to Mike and Randy. They have good tips for you to go check out and maybe follow on your drafts. Everybody else had a show. Randall had a show. Running Wild had a show. So almost all the partners had shows as well. So, yeah.
Yeah, great stuff. Once again, W2M Network, you need to go join it. And just real quick, I didn't start the show out with this, but I want to mention real quick, Sean, you said the fantasy draft we just had for the W2M. What did you guys think about your drafts? Did you guys have a pretty solid one? What were your thoughts, Paul?
I had an okay draft. I got a couple of guys I wanted, but I don't feel confident about my whole team. I do, however, feel like I have enough pieces there to at least make it interesting going down the stretch. So, I took a lot of risks too on especially quarterbacks because I drafted quarterbacks a lot later than I usually do, and I ended up with Blake Bortles and Alex Smith, who Smith I think is a good pick at least going down the line. Blake is the one I'm a little iffy on.
Yeah, for me, I also took a risk. Like I usually stay away from Eli Manning at all costs, but this time I took him. Just because I feel like the Giants could have a big year as far as it goes for offense wise. So I took him. I took Sterling Shepard to kind of have the dual thing if that ever pans out. I went big on running backs, which I normally don't do. I'm more of a go for the receiver kind of person. So I'm hoping that like Peterson has another really good year and Murray has a bounce back year that we're thinking he's supposed to have. So, could happen.
Yeah. I mean, interesting. Like the whole first round was pretty much a running back wholesale.
Yeah.
They went super fast in the first opening rounds. Like, well, it looks like I'm going to be looking at receivers.
Yeah, and of course I had the number 1 pick. I don't know how that happened. I know Sean didn't make me the number 1 pick.
It was a random draft order.
Yeah, in fact, I would have been pissed if Sean would have told me, "Hey, I'm putting you number 1." So I wasn't happy, but I did it, and I started that run on running backs. So I got Zeke Elliott. I know Todd Gurley was there. Should have probably got him, but I'm going to buy the hype train with the quarterback situation not great in Dallas right now. I'm thinking they're going to depend on the run. That's why I went Zeke Elliott. And of course, quarterback situations you guys just mentioned. I went late too, Paul. I got Kirk Cousins as my quarterback, but we'll see. Hopefully that receiving core is going to be amazing. That's what I'm depending on. So
yeah.
But yeah, we'll talk more about our fantasy draft. Of course, we'll probably talk about that during the year as well. If you guys are playing with us, man, it's going to be a fun year. Of course, if you guys listening are not part of that draft, you'll be a part of the other draft coming up, and it's going to be really fun doing that one too. You got to love my fantasy name in that league. I picked Renee's Lunatics as my team name. So we will see how that works out. What?
Oh, man.
You love it.
It's funny, yeah.
So.
It's funny.
All right. Well, anyway, we're going to get out of here, guys. I hope you guys have a great week. We will see you guys on the Friday morning on the download. Until then, for myself, for Sean, for Paul, if you're not living life to the max.
Not living life at all.
You know it.
Peace.